Greetings, globeheads and flatards. So this week, an American endurance athlete by the name of Colin OBrady became the first person to cross the continent of Antarctica solo and unaided. Now, it's important to remember he's the first to cross solo and unaided because he's actually not the first person to cross the continent. Others have done it. Others have done it solo, but aided with like kites that help them use wind power to get across. This guy basically pulled his own sled because you have to carry the supplies you need to keep you alive for this trek. And so unaided means he had to pull a sled carrying all this stuff. Pretty amazing feat. Took him 54 days. He started on the Ronnie Ice Shelf, crossed, visited the actual South Pole, and then crossed to the other side of the continent and finished on the Ross Ice Shelf. You're going to have a lot of flat earthers out there tell you that you hear him. I hear him say all the time on videos. Well, if it's really a continent, how come nobody's ever crossed it? Because flat earthers apparently don't know about Google. But this guy's the latest to cross, and again, the first to cross solo and unaided. The last portion of his trip really caught my attention because he actually, once he got close to the finish, he went on this tear and just determined to finish right away, and he traveled like 32 hours straight, crossing like the last 90 miles or something like that, or 80 miles, I think it was. And when you do the math on this quote sprint to the finish, you'll find that his average speed was less than 3 miles an hour, between 2 and 3 miles an hour. Now, so those of you who think that the that there is no continent and that the South Pole is actually just this ice wall, this ring around the your flat Earth. Do the math on that if you think he just went in a big huge circle and figure out how fast. I calculated that if he was traveling something like 8 hours or 18 hours a day and sleeping just 6, that he'd still have to be going something like 50 miles an hour on foot, pulling a sled in order to go in this big giant circle. So obviously he crossed the continent. Now I know flat earthers, just if something disproves their claims, they'll just flat out deny it and it never happened. I'm sure they're already looking up to see if Mr. Colin OBrady is a Jesuit or Illuminati or whatever. But instead of just denying everything, why don't you try doing stuff like this yourself? Now, warning, crossing Antarctica is not for everybody. People have died attempting this. Colin O'Brien is what you call an endurance athlete. So you're going to have to get in shape before you attempt it. But it turns out that there were no Illuminati, no UN armed penguins, or anybody that stopped Mr. O'Brady from this feat. So instead of just living in denial, you too can go down and see for yourself and find out that we live on this big, beautiful globe. Happy New Year, everybody. Enjoy the internet, enjoy YouTube, but don't fall for those snake oil salesmen out there.